I think we can all relate to that closet that has just gotten completely out of hand in our house, right? At first, you start out and you're like quickly putting clothes away one day after you do laundry, and you don't, quite put things where they're supposed to go. So, there are a couple of things out of place. Then there's that sweater that needs to go to the dry cleaner, or a jacket that you meant to return and you kind of shove them in the back. And then there's that camera bag that you might use again someday. It's not your primary one, but you're not quite ready to part with it. Anyway, fast forward a few months or a year, and suddenly that closet is an avalanche every time that you try to open the door, right? It feels stressful. You're shoving stuff in, you're closing it fast, and you're promising yourself that you're going to get around to dealing with this at some point. And then one day, you get to a place where you need something that's in that closet and it's all the way in the back, and you basically have to deconstruct the closet in order to find that thing. It takes way more time, whatever, and you're like, that's it. Running a business without solid systems feels exactly like that. It feels like the closet that is just overflowing, and maybe you can sort of manage it, and then at some point you hit that breaking point. At first, there's, one or two manual tasks that you're doing, a client email here, an invoice there. But before you know it, you're spending more time managing the mess than you are actually doing the work that you love. And the worst part is, something needs to change, but figuring out what to keep, what to toss, how to Marie Kondo that mess can feel really overwhelming. That is why today's episode is all about systems. Not the flashy kind that promise to, automate your entire life, but the kind that actually help you run your business in a sustainable, client-friendly, human way. And to walk us through that, I am talking with Melissa Rich, a former photographer turned systems strategist who knows firsthand how the right automations can free up hours of time without making your business feel robotic. So whether your business closet needs a quick tidy up or a full-on overhaul, this conversation is going to help you see how small systems can make a big, big difference. Let's get into it. Welcome to This Can't Be That Hard. My name is Anami Tonkin, and I help photographers run profitable, sustainable businesses that they love. Each week on the podcast, I cover simple, actionable strategies and systems that photographers at every level of experience can use to earn more money in a more sustainable way. Running a photography business doesn't have to be that hard. You can do it, and I can show you how. Welcome to This Can't Be That Hard. I'm super excited to have you on the show today. How are you?
I am so well, and I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Oh my gosh.
Oh no. This, as I was saying before, I feel like when you reached out and you were talking about what we're going to be talking about today, I was like, yes, 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 like just nodding my head along, because this is basically my 100% jam. And I feel like everybody here has heard me talk about this a million times. I always appreciate having some outside support and other people's perspective on this. So before we dive into all things systems and automation, tell us a little bit about who you are, your backstory in the photography industry, and kind of what you're doing these days.
Sure. So present view, I am a systems and workflow consultant, right? So I help photographers and creatives get their back end of their business sorted out in their CRM, their project management tool, and other pieces, right? I have been previously a wedding photographer with my husband for the last 16 years. So we did the side hustle thing while we were working full-time jobs, and then went full-time and got super overwhelmed, right?
Right.
And honestly, when we started our business, I didn't even know how to shoot. I was just running the back end of the business. I had to teach myself how to shoot, right? And so the pandemic hit. We had a wedding photography business and a corporate event photography business, and it just knocked us out, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And so in my previous life, I had worked for a large healthcare IT company on the process improvement team, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I fell in love with like sticky notes and workflows and all of those amazing things. And so the pandemic hit and I started doing work as a VA, and I was like, man, I really love being in the back end again and creating these systems and making life easier for my clients. And so that's how my business was born. So here we are, like 5 years later, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I get to do full time. I get to help small business owners enjoy their business again by making the back end, the thing that nobody wants to do, easier and more fulfilling. And it's just, I love it. It's so nerdy, but I love it.
Okay, well, I'm going to take a quick detour
Yeah.
and ask a little bit about, so when was the last time you were working in the IT industry? Since there was, obviously there was many years of photographing and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I left my full-time job in October of 2014.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So, yeah. Well, no, the reason that I ask that is that I imagine that between then and when you started working as a VA, and even, I mean, I guess you were watching this sort of from a user perspective
Mhm.
in during
Mhm.
your photography business, but tell me a little bit about what has changed from 2014 to now in terms of what's available
Oh my
on
gosh.
the systems side of things.
Oh my gosh, the accessibility, I feel like, and the variety of platforms, if you will.
Hmm.
Our first CRM was an Excel sheet, right? After we moved
Yep. Yep.
from the graph on the wall, you know what I mean? We moved to an Excel sheet,
Right.
and then we moved to Studio Ninja, which didn't connect to anything.
Hmm.
Right.
Right.
And so now platforms, you can access them from your phone. You can do anything from your phone that you could have done and that I had to do from that desktop app. Right
Yeah.
there, the automation factor has just increased substantially. The user experience, the things that you can do in a CRM now to like brand it, make it user friendly and like make it feel like it's part of your website and that overall experience and the customization factor,
Yeah.
like the customizations are just that in itself, the automations don't feel robotic anymore. They don't feel
Right.
cold and like it's an automation. You can really personalize it and zhuzh it up so that it's like, wow, that feels like it's actually an email that she sat down and wrote and not
Yeah.
just an automated thing, you know?
Yeah. When I first got a CRM, I started out with Tave, which
Yes.
at the time, and I think it was actually right around 2014. I'm pretty sure it was 2014. And I didn't know anything about CRMs. I didn't know what was possible. I remember reading in their documentation about automation and just being like, that's for somebody who's more tech
Right.
savvy than me." So I really wasn't doing much with automations. And it was funny, later as I became not only more comfortable, but like addicted to those kinds of things
Mhm.
and figuring out how I could create, an
Right.
automated process where I once had to push the button. I remember looking back and being like, oh, so many things that I just wasn't even willing to look at. But I think that the user interface on all that stuff has just gotten so much easier, cleaner, better. Tave was
Mhm.
very much, and I haven't seen it recently. I haven't seen the back end, but it was kind of a developer's
Yeah.
CRM. Like it had tons of power, but you had to know how to
Yes.
control that.
Right. I feel like there are so many platforms now that you can hop in and within an hour you
Yeah,
can get something sent out if you
yeah,
need to or set up or that kind of thing.
right,
Tave, so admittedly, because I loved the back end of the business, I
yeah,
platform hopped, which I do not
sure,
recommend.
right,
Right. But like every 2 years, oh, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this.
yeah,
I loved Tave. Like and the
yeah,
I think that you would be I was in it a couple weeks ago, to be honest with you. It's still
yeah,
one of my favorites. But that interface, that smoothness, that we're gonna make it as easy as we can for you to get up and running.
right,
I love. I think that that's so
yeah.
smart.
Yeah, so good. Okay, that was a sidetrack. So let's talk a little bit about, now that I know the backstory, because I
Yeah.
didn't know the IT part, I would love to hear a little bit about when you got into doing
Yeah.
the VA thing and everything else. What was it that made you decide I'm going to go specifically in on systems consulting?
I loved the ease that it could bring to people. And so I am an oldest daughter. I am a millennial. I am a people pleaser, recovering perfectionist, type A, all of those things that you hear about
Right.
that is me. Hello.
Yeah.
And so I've always just wanted to help make people's lives better. Right. And so for a long time, I thought that meant working in a nonprofit. But the more that I did the VA work, the more that I was like, no, these beautiful creative minds don't know how
Hmm.
to function like this. And I can live in both worlds. My husband taught me that. His creative brain on me is just like, you know what I mean? He taught me how to work with
Yep.
anybody. And so, but his brain didn't know how to work in systems. And
Yeah.
so helping him and helping us get our business to the point where it was that it was running smoothly so we could enjoy life and focus on the things we wanted to, I could replicate that with my clients,
Yeah.
right? And we could make that easier. And I could take this big, like, I call it like a big bowl of wet spaghetti noodles. It's just all tangled up. You know what I mean? So often that's how business owners feel that systems are. And I take them and I string them out and lay them out in a nice, neat order so it actually looks like something and functions. And that makes their lives easier. As a
Yeah.
result, they are able to do more and run their dream business and like live their dang life, which is what we all want to do. We don't set
Right.
out to like, we don't start photography businesses because we want to run a business. We start photography businesses because we want to take pictures
Indeed.
ultimately. And
Yeah.
it lets them do that. It lets me take their beautiful creativeness and scale it for them so they can grow the way they want to. And there's just something so beautiful about helping other people reach their dreams that I just love. I know that sounds corny,
Nope, it
but
sounds highly relatable. Corny though it may be, I feel the same way, and that's amazing. Okay, so I love this visual of the bowl of spaghetti because it totally feels like that sometimes. There's just this like nest of things, and you have no idea how you're gonna disentangle everything. So I imagine that you have kind of a framework, a system that you start with. What do we start with? Like, what are the core systems that you feel like every photographer needs to have in place?
oh my gosh. Well, at its core, I feel like every photographer needs to have an autoresponder turned on. And that sounds, I say autoresponder, and people are like, oh, that sounds cold and
Right.
robotic and ugly and not nice. You know what I mean? I want to be personal and I want to be high touch and I want them to know that it's actually me. Right. But also in the photography industry, especially for wedding photographers or engagement photographers or proposal photographers, right? You have to get back to your client and you have to get back to them fast.
Right.
And you don't want to be attached to your phone. Like, you don't want to be sitting at your kid's soccer game on your phone replying to a client when a lead comes in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not how you want to live your life. I'm assuming anyway. And
Yeah.
so, so that autoresponder, it goes out as soon as they fill out your lead capture form. And it doesn't have to be anything more than, hey, I'm so excited your message came through. I'm checking my calendar. I'll get back to you within 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever. Let's connect here. Maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's somewhere else. You know what I mean? 2 sentences. It's the
Yeah.
easiest thing to set up, but it makes such a big difference because then it gets you back in your client's inbox while they are hot and excited and so ready to work with you. You know what I
Right.
mean? And then that gives them another touch point of how to find you as well too. So I love doing that autoresponder, and it's easy to set up. Like even if you're building a workflow and that's the only thing you have in that workflow that's automated and nothing else lives there, that is something, and you're doing better than you were before because you're increasing the odds that that client's going to book you. You're getting back to them quicker, and that's going to help you and keep them excited as well too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it really is, I think that for a long time, hopefully this is going away, but I think for a long time there were photographers who viewed responding too fast as like seeming too eager, seeming too available, whatever. And this is not dating. We are not playing mind games. Somebody reaches out to you because they are actively looking for a solution to whatever their
Right.
specific problem is, or whatever their photography need is. And that quick response and sort of letting them know that their form came through and that
Yes.
you're on it
Right.
it's just good customer service,
Ex-
and it sort of sets the expectation that you're going to be quick to respond, which is a good thing.
It really is. And honestly, like, as a user, I mean, I personally have sent inquiry forms in and then gotten nothing back. And it's like,
Yep.
did that actually go through? Do I need to
Totally.
email them? You know what I mean? And there's no worse feeling than that as the client. So, like,
Yeah.
start that client experience, like you said, set that expectation from the very get go, and that's going to set you up for more success down the long run. In the long run,
Yeah.
so I love that. Love, love, love that autoresponder. Plus, here's the thing. We talked about this a little bit earlier. It doesn't have to sound robotic. It doesn't have to
Right.
sound automated. Like, the key to making any automation feel like you and feel human is writing it like you would talk to somebody.
Sure.
You know, don't just send a, hey, I got your message, thanks, email. That sounds robotic, right?
Right.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited you reached out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Write the email how you would talk to somebody in person, and that's going to feel like that genuine connection that you want to create.
Amazing. Okay, so lead magnet is, or management, not magnet, is sort of that first spaghetti strand that
Oh
we
my
pull out of the
gosh.
bowl.
Yes.
What comes next?
I love a pre-session email, right? And again, even if this is the only email that you have set up in a workflow, it's going to make a world of difference for you. Send it out. a week, a few days, whatever feels good to you before your session. But in this email, you want to prep your client for their session, what they can expect, right? Maybe, and I'm not saying it has to include all the things, right? It can be as simple as, hey, Anami, I'm so excited to see you on Friday at 6 p.m. Here's where we're starting. Bring these things, right?
Yep.
You also, though, can add to it, right? Like add a prep guide, what to expect, how to prepare your kids, maybe bring some snacks. We're going to start here and then walk around. As much detail as you want to, but it sets the expectation for your client. And honestly, like I love having phone calls with clients too. It doesn't always soak in verbally.
Oh yeah,
You know
for
what I
sure.
mean? So like
Yeah.
using this email to set those expectations of what they're going to experience while they're with you and what they need to bring and how to prepare, it just makes your job easier and it helps set the session up for more success. It helps them have a better experience with you as well too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Every photographer is different, right? And there are some
Yeah.
that are like, bring all the props. And if that's your thing, put that in the email. If other
Right.
people are like, I hate props, put that in your email. That way they're not bringing the whole trunk full of props with them. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But this is just really like, I want you to have a successful session, you as the client, right? I need to make sure that I do my job well. Here's what I need you to know so that both of those things can happen. That's all that email is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan of breaking, obviously a lot of people have prep guides that they send out as soon as somebody books, but let's say that that's a month or two before you actually work with them. Or if you're a wedding photographer, that could be a year, in advance. So I feel like that client communication system, obviously there's like the reminder email a couple of days before the session itself, but like you can take an entire prep guide and break it up into little, emails that go out every couple of weeks being like, hey, just wanted to check in here, today's
Love it.
topic is whatever. And it's just a touch point. It helps maintain that excitement that they felt when they first booked
Right.
with you. So it ends up not only having your client show up better prepared, but also feeling more connected to you. So I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. And again, it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be over the
Right.
top. Like it does not. One big misconception that a lot of photographers have about systems is that it has to be perfect and this big, beautiful thing from the get go. This is
Right.
just one thing that you can do that's simple that will take you an hour tops. Let's be realistic to put into place to just really make your life easier and make your client's experience better.
Yeah. And it can grow and expand. You can, I know that you said in the beginning you're a perfectionist, and I tend to be that as well. So I can get caught like deer in the headlights with well, if I don't have the whole thing set up, then it's not worth, kind of getting it going. I have retrained my brain on that because it is true. You start with one thing and then you start to see like, ooh, I think it would work even better if I added in
Yes.
this second thing or this third thing.
Oh my
So,
gosh,
so good.
absolutely. Start with what you've got. I always like to say that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, in terms of the systems themselves, we talked about lead management, we've talked about client communication. Anything else that you're like, this is one of the basics, one of the core systems that people need?
Let's talk about a scheduling tool for a minute, if we can.
Yes, please.
So this is one, believe it or not, this is one of the features / tools that I get the biggest pushback on when it comes to talking with clients. They could be I work with all kinds of creatives, right? So it could be
Sure.
a photographer. It could be, I work with a lady who makes cat toys and she also pushes back on the scheduler, right? So it's not a photographer thing only, but it makes your life so much easier. Are you kidding? And
Right.
let's talk about the client experience. When you go to book an appointment with somebody, how frustrated do you get that you can't do it online or that you can't just do it in a 1-2 click, right?
Right.
Not bad example, but an example. My therapist, I have to schedule manually with her. There's not an online calendar. And every time I'm
Right.
like, this is so frustrating. Why is this not
Yeah.
an online thing? Right. And so incorporating the scheduler, it does a couple of things, right? It increases that client experience. Using a scheduler does not make it cold or a weird experience for your clients. If anything, it's decreasing the amount of time that it's going to take for them to schedule that appointment and that uncertainty and that what if we can't make it work and what if, you know what I mean? All of those things that
Yeah.
happen, right?
Yeah, reducing friction at every possible turn. If
Yeah.
somebody wants to call and like compare calendars verbally with you, maybe
Right.
have that available. But if somebody doesn't want to and just wants to see if you're
Yeah.
available on the Saturday that their family's going to be in town, yeah,
Right, exactly. I mean, and honestly, it takes a minimum of what, at least 4 emails to schedule a meeting. You figure that's 5 to 10 minutes writing each email, depending
yeah,
on what goes into it, right? You have to send the availability and ask for the meeting. Then you're waiting, and then the client has to say, "No, I'm not available then. I'm available here." And you're like, "Okay, well, maybe we can make that." You know what I mean? Like, it's just
yeah,
so a lot of people push back on that, and they push back on that because, but I don't want them to have access to my calendar, and I don't know when I'm going
right.
to be available. And, but what about my kid's soccer game and things change and ba 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 ba. Life happens, absolutely. And I'm not saying it's a perfect solution, but by using a calendar, you're making your life easier because then it's all automated, which reduces the
Hmm.
risk of human error. Let's talk about that for a minute, right?
Hmm.
Which means you're not going to mess up or double book because your calendar system is preventing that from happening.
Right.
So,
Let's just have address the meta conversation that I imagine is happening in your mind behind this as well. So when I am, we decided that you were coming on the show,
yeah,
I sent you a calendar
yeah,
link for you to find a spot
yeah,
and book it. And you booked
hmm,
a time with me yesterday.
yeah,
And then the day before, I looked at my calendar and was like, uh-oh, I can't guarantee that I'm going to be at my desk and ready because I
right,
had a doctor appointment
hmm,
like in the time slot right before that. So that's a perfect example of, so I just to finish that, I reached out to you,
yeah,
said like, "Hey, is there any way that you can push by 30 minutes or maybe we can shift by a day?" So here we are. But the point is like, yeah, I had put the doctor appointment on my calendar. I hadn't put enough padding or margin in
yeah,
there because a doctor appointment is an unusual thing in my calendar. But it still got all of the steps taken care of. You
right,
had the link for the meeting, you had all of the like automated like
hmm,
prep emails about like make sure you have this kind of
hmm,
microphone and et cetera, et cetera. You had all that stuff. All we needed to do was me reach out and be
hmm,
like, "Hey, sorry about that little error on the
yeah,
calendar. Let's move." No big deal, but it takes so much of the work away.
right. It really does. And it makes you human as well too. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I didn't care at all that we had to reschedule. I was like, wow, okay, we can do that. Yeah, absolutely. That's not
Yeah.
your client's not going to care either if you're trying to serve them better and easier and like you said,
Right.
reduce that friction. Some photographers it depends on the amount of automation that they want. I always encourage you to use a scheduler for meetings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Consultations, that kind of thing. Some photographers like to go so far as to use it for scheduling sessions, which
Mm-hmm.
honestly I also love because
Yeah.
again, that makes it so much easier. There's no back and forth or anything like that. And then it kicks off that automation, those reminders, everything seamlessly for you. It
Yeah.
just such a big thing. Like such a necessary tool that I understand can be scary, but I think the risk outweighs the scare factor or the reward
Yeah.
outweighs the scare
The
factor.
benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So when somebody is new to systems and they set things up, inevitably, invariably, they are going to set things up that I'm not going to say they're wrong, but they may be able to be improved in the future, or they may decide to like change things up. How do you recommend that somebody who maybe has some systems, I mean, we all have some kind of system, even if it's a really messy system.
Mhm.
How does one go about evaluating whether their current systems are kind of helping them, hurting them, not serving them to their full
Oh
potential?
my gosh, I love this question. And I feel it in my soul because a few weeks ago I actually went through and did the same thing on my own systems, right? So this
Yeah.
is a recent thing for me to do in my business as well too. So first of all, you want to look to see where there's friction, right? Where
Hmm.
are clients not getting things done that you need them to get done? Where are you having to go in and consistently manually update things, right? Is there
Hmm.
an email that you constantly skip over and then write it manually?
Right.
Is there a link that you constantly have to update? That kind of thing, right? Make a list of that and like write that down. That's the first thing you need to update. But also, something that we don't talk about enough, I feel like, is going to be the KPIs that are attached to your systems, right? The key performance indicators. This is going to come in handy, especially for your inquiry
Hmm.
workflows, right? Are leads responding to your first email? Are they booking a call in that first email? Are they responding to that second? Are they not? If leads aren't responding to that first email, that's a sign that you might need to go back in and update that email and tweak it and
Mm-hmm.
update that part of your system, right? Like you need to look to see what's working and what's not, where the friction is. If clients still have questions, or honestly, what's taking up the most amount of your time that you're consistently having to redo,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the key. And then you take that one step at a time and you update those pieces one step at a time, right? I worked with a wedding photographer last week and we had previously done her systems and we were doing some updates, right? And she was like, well, I'm having these quick turnaround weddings that my big wedding workflow just doesn't work for. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. I found that I'm skipping this email and this doesn't pertain and that doesn't pertain. And so it's just adding more manual work on the back end. And so we created a workflow specifically for wedding clients who book in under 2 months.
Right.
Big difference from the wedding clients who book in a year.
Yeah.
But it takes paying attention and knowing this isn't working for this specific client. Maybe I need to set up this own thing over here to figure out what you need to update and everything like that. And then it's
Yeah.
just piece by piece, like piece by piece.
Yeah. And I feel like, having those CEO days where you're like, I am not going to edit any photos. I am not going to write any client emails unless I am writing a template,
Right.
a client email template. Those days can be so powerful. And honestly, one of the big reasons that I am such an advocate for kind of getting away from running your business in an Excel spreadsheet or, oh, well, I've got a really robust checklist that I use and that works fine for me. It's not that I don't think those things can work, but what those things don't do is give you easy access to data about how things are working. And you're absolutely right. Like if you can look at your CRM and see that most people book after your third email or, most people who ghost, because of X, Y, and Z or
Right.
whatever the case may be, being able to look specifically at where those things are happening means that you can improve that
Right.
or you can take something out beforehand. You can react with actual
Yes.
intention as opposed to just guessing what might be getting people stuck.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. In my own business, I had a place recently where I realized my clients were getting stuck. And I was like, dang, Melissa, you're the systems person. This is not good, right? That people are
Totally.
getting stuck in your system. And so I had to go back and revamp everything and change, not everything, but like revamp that specific spot because it was creating a frustrating point for my clients. And I want it to be easy to work with me. Like, the same thing is true for photographers. Where are your clients getting stuck? If it's figuring out outfits, okay, what can we do to help them figure it out outfits? What can we do so that their kids show up happy? What can we do to help prepare them for this? You know what I mean? Like it's just increasing and upping that client experience, but also at the same time, making your life easier because your job is going to be easier on the flip side.
Yeah, totally. So, knowing what I now know about your background in systems and then the fact that you're working with your husband in your photography business, and of course, I know that you were/are a simple sales user,
Yeah.
I'm dying to hear how a systems person, like a legit, well trained systems person, first of all, I'm honored that you signed up for the course and like decided to implement that. But I would love to hear sort of your systems take on simple sales.
I loved it, to be honest with you. And it was because, like, here's the thing. We as photographers, we went full time, which means we need to make more money, right? How do you do that? Well, you sell things to your clients, right? Okay, to be honest with you, I am not a salesperson. It makes me
Right.
super uncomfortable saying, even as a photographer, saying prices out loud to my clients. I was like, and it's going to be this much money to invest in your wedding day. You know what I mean? And so then the
Right.
idea of trying to sell them more after the fact, I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. I just need somebody to teach me how to do this because I don't know. Okay. I don't know what to say because I'm awkward and like I can set the automations up. That's the easy part, right? But it's the how do I do this? What do I say? Right?
Right.
And so I loved it because you told me exactly what to say and when to say it. And it worked. Okay. Not that I doubted the system or you, but like I doubted myself. And
Yeah.
as I talked to photographers, I talked to a photographer in the second year of business the other day. And she was like, I was like, we were talking about her systems and what she wanted to do. And I was like, are you doing IPS? She's like, what's IPS? I said, oh, it's in-person
Right.
sales. She goes, oh, like selling prints. I said, yes. She goes, I have no idea how to do that, but I wish I could because I need to make more money. Oh,
Right.
okay, Katie, let's go down this path, right?
Yeah.
You just don't know. And simple sales teaches you how to do that. But there's also like the mindset work that you include as well
Hmm.
too, that is so important and made such a big difference. And then there's just the implementation. You made it step 1, step 2, step 3. I was like, okay, I can do this. I
Oh,
can
it's a
do
system.
this. Right, exactly. And
That's
like to
funny.
be honest, I've worked with photographers who have bought simple sales and they're like, I bought this because I know that I need it. I was like, do you want some help setting it up? Yes, please. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
And so it makes the biggest difference. You made us so much money. Let me just say that. You made us so much
Excellent.
money. I tell everybody about it if they haven't used it because it's just incredible. And I'm not just saying that because I'm here, right? Like let's say that. I'm saying that because it actually worked for my business and you made
Yeah.
it easy, easy and clear and I would buy it. It was the best investment.
Well,
Honestly.
thanks. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously it's amazing to hear. And I always love hearing about artists making more money. But I do think that there is that intersection of like, okay, so here's some words you can say, emails you can send, the way that you break down the pricing and the this, that, and the other.
Mhm.
But it is also the systematic element of it where
Mhm.
you are dripping things out piece by
Yes.
piece, or you're not, overwhelming
Mhm.
your potential client with too much
Right.
information to begin with. You're giving
Right.
them enough so that they can decide
Mhm.
whether they want to take that next step
Oh
and
my
reach out
gosh.
or have a conversation or whatever.
Right. And honestly, after implementing simple sales, like that helped us in all of that aspect, but it
Hmm.
also helped me be a better educator and salesperson from the time a client booked, you know what I mean? Up
Hmm. Yeah.
until all of those things started coming into play,
Yeah.
right? When we did
Yeah.
wedding consultations and portrait consultations, it helped me get a better idea of what to say and how to educate my clients in those scenarios as well too, so that they were then ready for the whole process. So,
Love. So good. So let everybody know where they can connect with you, where they can learn more. I know I'd love for you to talk a little bit about some of the services that you provide for
yeah.
photographers.
Absolutely. So you can find me. I'm Melissa at Virtually Done Systems. I know it's a mouthful, so it will be in the show notes. My
Yep.
website is virtuallydonesystems.com. My Instagram is Virtually Done Systems. We tried to find an abbreviation and it just didn't work well. So,
No.
so here we are.
I also have a long business name, so I hear
You
that.
understand. So
Yes.
I'm all of those places. In terms of how we can work together, we can work together in a couple of different ways. I do a done for you CRM setup, which is essentially me coming in, you dreaming big and saying, here's what I want to do with my life and with my
Hmm.
client experience. And then I do the heavy lifting to bring it to life, right? Just like Katie, if you don't know how to do IPS, I build that in for you. I
Right.
love it. So
Quick question about that. Do
yeah.
you specifically work with one or two CRMs, or are you kind of I use them all?
Well, you see, so the great thing about having platform jumped I say when I was a kid, but when I was a wedding photographer, right?
Sure.
I've got experience running a business in almost all of them except for the brand new ones, right? And
Yeah.
so
Amazing.
so if you come to me and say I need a setup in Tave, I'm your girl because hello, I can do that, right? So I love working in Tave, 17 Hats, Steps Auto, Honeybook, Sprout Studio. I've done a couple of Pixify setups. Like
Nice.
I have a really nerdy Excel spreadsheet that I use for all of them. So
Right, of course. Very cool. Okay, because I feel like a lot of people who do systems are sort of like, this is the one that I
right,
work in or I specialize in. So that's great
right.
that you've got that flexibility. And then I know that you had a resource for people.
Yes.
Tell us a little
Yes,
bit more
yes,
about
yes.
that.
I have the quick win automation guide for listeners. And essentially, it's going to take everything that we talked about today and give you the email verbiage, the template, the trigger, the timing to take that and build it into your own CRM. So if you're not sure how to set up an autoresponder, it's going to say, here are the words you need to use. Here's when you need to set it up. Here are the things, like here's how to set up a workflow or how to like the things to look for in your CRM so you can bring this to life. Here's how to implement a scheduler. Here's how to do all these things. Here's the words, right? So I wanted to really make what we talked about today seem feasible You know what I mean? Because I
Yep.
hate it when people are like, oh, you just do this and this and this and then you're done. But
And
then
you have no idea how to do this and this and this. Yeah.
right. So this guide essentially takes everything we talked about today and it helps you bring it to life in your business so that you can actually do the dang thing and not just
Right.
sit there and think about it or cry over it or whatever that looks like.
Done is better than perfect, but well done is the best of all. So
Exactly.
so good. I love that. Well, Melissa, thank you so much for coming on the show. It has been a pleasure chatting with you. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me. This has been like awesome.
My pleasure. That's it for this week's episode of This Can't Be That Hard. I'll be back same time, same place next week. If you like the show, be sure to check out thiscan'tbethathard.com to explore all the resources we have for photographers. And of course, it would mean the world to me if you would leave a review of the show on iTunes or Spotify. As always, thanks so much for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic week.